KSHP North Las Vegas, 107.1 FM, 1400 AM, K29 6HP North Las Vegas, and online at kshp.com.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
Well, what's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Yes, it is Hump Day. Thank you so much for joining us. And we got a very, very busy show lined up for you today. So glad you could all join us on Twitter, TikTok, on Facebook fan page, Pushing the Limits, and, of course, on the FM and the AM dial, KSHP. So I just was speaking with Henry Rugg's attorney, one of his attorneys, David Chesnoff. I like to call him celebrity attorney because it seems like he gets all the biggest cases. And David has agreed to come on the show in hour number 2. And I was just informed. And the reason for which the Henry Ruggs case is pretty much closed. He was just sentenced from 3 to 10 years behind bars. And a statement was made on Mr. Ruggs' behalf of taking responsibility for his actions, and he's ready to serve his time. And his attorney, David Chesnoff, who I've been wanting to get on the show for a very long time, has agreed to come on in hour number 2. So that's a big deal. And listen, I've been very outspoken about this case. My personal belief, I don't think that's enough time. I understand it's a first offense, but I'm not even speaking about this case. I'm just speaking in general terms. I believe that if you're drunk, you're under the influence, and you kill somebody, that I think the standard, it should be higher. But that's not why I'm having David Chesnoff on. His job was to represent Henry Ruggs to the best of his ability, and clearly he did that. He's a very skilled attorney. I'm going to ask about this case. I'm going to ask him questions about Ruggs. Is he truly sorry for what he did? Those are the type of questions. I'm not going to get into my opinions on DUI with David Chesnoff because that's not why I'm having him on. But yes, in my personal opinion, I think people who kill people on the road, people who are driving under the influence, in this case, we believe going in excess of 150 miles an hour on Rainbow, yeah, I believe a mandatory sentence should be at minimum a decade. That's my personal opinion. That's how I feel. I know that's how Tina Tintor's family feels because I've spoken to a few of them who are still grieving, who are still suffering. So David Chesnoff, again, Henry Ruggs' attorney, will be joining us in hour number 2. A very high-profile case. It was the number 1 story on TMZ so far today, and his attorney will be joining us in hour number 2. We hear this all the time in society. Mainly, it's from bigots. Mainly, it's from people that are anti-LGBTQ. Mainly, it's from Trump supporters. Yes, I said it. Because mainly Trump supporters and MAGAs don't want to talk about gun control. They don't want to talk about health care. They don't want to talk about protecting our brave men and women in uniform or giving them health care. They don't want to talk about the real issues facing Americans. What do they want to talk about? They want to talk about drag queens and transgenders. They want to talk about how drag queens reading books to kids is the worst thing in the world, and we got to protect our kids. By the way, they don't want to talk about gun control. They want to talk about transgenders. And oh my God, you're mutilating these kids. They don't want to talk about gun control, don't want to talk about health care. Well, I said, I've had it. I went to a drag queen reading last month downtown because I wanted to know what the fuss was all about. Is anybody going to say anything inappropriate? Now, I didn't think anybody would, and guess what? They didn't. I went downtown. I went to this drag queen reading. Everybody was having a good time, and guess who else was having a good time? Me. They fed me food. I got drinks. It was all free. I really like that. Everybody was smiling. The kids were having a great time, and the message was just, let's treat everybody fair. Let's treat everybody as equals, and be who you are. Boy, what a horrible message. I had a great time. For you right-wing idiots out there that we're indoctrinating our kids. No, you're indoctrinating your kids, you dumbasses. You are. And I met some drag queens at this event. And one of those drag queens is nice enough to be joining me in studio coming up here in about 10 minutes. Her name is Sister Aura. She comes from the organization Sin City Sisters. And I want to get her take on all this. because it infuriates me, the hatred out there. And while there are a lot of wonderful people out there that are supportive, and I commend all of you, there are hateful people out there, and it bothers me and it irks me, and I can't even imagine how much it bothers someone who is a drag queen. So Sister Aura, again, from Sin City Sisters, will be joining us at the bottom, or I should say here in about 10 minutes. And I appreciate Sister Aura being here to talk about what I consider this an important issue. So before we talk about some other issues of the day, including Tao Tai, he was involved in the George Floyd murder, and he was just sentenced. We'll talk about that case a little bit later on in the show. It appears as though in Georgia, Donald Trump facing a fourth indictment, and it looks like it's going to be at least 12 charges. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. There's so much to get to, and what Donald Trump is now telling his followers in regards to these indictments, you won't believe it. We'll get to all that stuff coming up a little bit later in the show, but I got to tell you, I had a Karen experience yesterday. Numchuck, yes. I had a Karen I was a part of a Karen interaction yesterday. Yes. Tell me what you think about this, and then tell me if you think I reacted properly.
I got you.
Okay. So I'm at a local restaurant here in town, and I'm with my parents. They just moved here, right?
Yep.
And my parents have a service dog. It's a beautiful little dog named Bella. Very well behaved. Doesn't bark. Doesn't bite people. Very friendly. Very quiet. Very well behaved dog. And my mom brings the dog into this restaurant, and you know, we all sit down. We order our food. We're having a good time. The food comes. The food is fantastic. We're having nice conversation. Everybody's having a good time. All of a sudden, this woman gets like 2 feet from my face. Okay. I don't know who this woman is. And she says, "You can't have dogs here. You can't have dogs in a restaurant." So I go on and she's very rude, right?
Yeah.
She's very rude.
I got you.
And my first reaction was, and I didn't say this, but my first reaction would have been, if my parents weren't there, I probably would have said, well, then I guess you're not allowed in the restaurant. That's probably what I would have said. But I didn't. I kept my mouth shut, and she walked away. Didn't even say anything to her. I was kind of like staring at her like, who is this idiot? You know, it was like, who is this moron? Mind your business, right? Then I go on my phone, and I do a little Google search, right? And the search I do says that in the state of Nevada, you're allowed to bring dogs into a restaurant. Perfectly legal in the state of Nevada. So I go to her table, and I said, here you go. My mom is well within her rights to do this, and why don't you mind your damn business next time? That's what I said to her. And then a minute later, she comes back over. And, you know, at this point, I'm furious. This is a Karen I'm dealing with. And by the way, her husband is sitting right there, and he's not saying a word. And he's got the look on his face of, oh, my God, my wife is so embarrassing. Get me out of here.
I was going to say,
right?
yeah.
He has that look on his face. He seems like a nice man. And he wants to say something to her, like stop, but he's probably afraid. It was like that kind of look, right? So she comes over again. At this point, I'm like, get the F away from my parents. Get away from this table. And she goes, your mother just fed the dog. Just gave the dog a French fry. That's illegal. Now, I don't know what the rules are, okay? Maybe you're not allowed to feed dogs at a restaurant. Maybe that's true. So I looked at her and I said, you better call the 911 dog French fry police, ma'am. I said, I dare you. Go ahead and call 911 and tell the officers that, God forbid, somebody fed a dog a French fry in a restaurant. Go ahead. Right? So that's what happened. Go ahead. You wanted to interject. Go ahead.
So you cannot
right.
feed a dog at a restaurant.
I looked that up myself.
Yes.
But the point I'm trying to make is...
No, but yeah.
First of all, the dog wasn't disturbing anybody.
It's a damn French fry.
Yeah, it's a French fry. She's the only person on the planet that would come over to a table, or maybe there are a few other people, that would come over to a table and complain about something like that and disturb somebody. So I told her to mind her business. I probably should have taken it a step further. Probably should have said, I guess that means you can't eat in this restaurant. I wanted to say something like that. But I told Rosie O'Donnell to just go sit in her seat and leave us alone. And don't you dare come back here again. Don't come back to this table again. Because if she came back again, then there would have been a big problem.
Yeah.
There would have been a big problem. And I would not have kept my mouth shut. At this point, Brian's being nice. Okay? I'm being nice.
I was going to say, it sounds like you're being extra nice.
I am. This is my family we're talking about here. This isn't me. Okay, I don't care if somebody comes up to me. I just tell them to F off. This is my parents. This is my nice, loving family, my parents. And this dog couldn't be nicer. It'd be one thing if this dog was barking or our waitress even said it. I didn't even know you guys had a dog. The dog was so well behaved, right? So a couple minutes go by, and they ask for the manager. Yeah. They ask for the manager. They can't just leave it alone. And then a few moments later, they leave. And I'm thinking to myself, first of all, this was a Karen. This was a Karen situation.
100%.
And secondly, I said to myself, these are the type of people in society that make life harder for others for no reason. They're so miserable with their own life, and they can't even look themselves in the mirror, and they're so unhappy that they want to bring everybody down. Right? I remember 5-6 years ago, I was dating this girl. I know that's hard to believe, right? Yeah, that's the last time I dated somebody 5 or 6 years ago. 5 or 6 years ago, I'm dating this chick, right? Very pretty, the worst personality in the world, alcoholic. And she was one of those people that she would do anything and everything to put everybody else down or make everybody else feel bad. She was the victim, and it's just negativity. It's a cancer, right? Yeah. And there are people like that in society where they want to make others feel bad, or they want to, be negative or give other people a hard time because they're so unhappy with their own life. They want to give others a hard time. And this was a perfect example of that. These types of people surround us in society. These are the types of people that if a young girl has a lemonade stand in the front of her home, this is the type of woman that will say, yeah, that's against the city ordinance. You can't have that lemonade stand there. You stupid woman. You stupid, ignorant woman. You despicable human being, because that's what you are. These things are happening across the country. A young girl has a lemonade stand. Let's call 911. A guy is sitting on his porch in front of his home. Oh, I don't recognize that guy. I don't think he lives in that complex. Let's call 911 because he's black. There are people like this in society that don't have a life. They don't have a life. And they need to be called out. And I should have recorded it, and I didn't, because it would have been another Karen on YouTube. Let me give advice to everybody out there. If you are in a Karen situation, or Ken, but mostly Karens because they're more fun.
It's Kyle, not Ken.
Oh, it's Kyle now? They
Kyle.
changed it? Okay, I apologize. Kyle. If you're in a Kyle or Karen situation, take out your phone and start recording. Make them famous. Because while you have a First Amendment right to act like a Karen, there are consequences for the way you treat people. Put it on YouTube. Put it on social media. Send it to PTL. I will play it on my show if you have an interaction with a Kyle or a Karen. We will find out who these people are, and we will out them. Because there is no privacy when you are in public. When you are acting like that in the privacy of your own home, we can't record you, right? But when you are out in public, we can record you. We can post it on social media. We can notify your employer. Because this stuff needs to stop. And there needs to be accountability. And I guarantee you, if I recorded that, this woman, if she does work, which she probably doesn't, her job is probably going around to different places and places of business to harass people. She probably doesn't have a job. Her husband probably has a job, and she probably just annoys people every day. She's probably one of those people that I fight on social media every day because I don't have a job. Record it, post it on social media. Let me tell you something, folks. Karens are real. I had to deal with it yesterday. Numchuck, do you think I dealt with it the right way?
It sounds like you did.
Yeah. How would you deal with that?
Oh, I would have snapped. I'm that asshole. I would have snapped 100%.
I didn't. I kind of held back because my parents were there. Anyway, we wish this woman very well with her French fry 911 dog endeavors. We wish her the best of luck. Sounds like she has a very exciting life. Anyway, we finished our meal. I was a little angry. I said, don't worry, guys. The meal's on me. I paid for it. We got out of there, and we went about our way. That was it. All right, we're going to speaking of people that get involved in other people's business, why is there so much hatred towards the drag queen community?
More Karens.
Why? Yeah, there's a lot of Karens out there. What is so wrong with drag queens reading books to kids? I don't understand it. Well, I found somebody who is a drag queen. Seems like a very nice person. I met Sister Aura downtown at a drag queen reading. And Sister Aura has agreed to come in studio and talk a little bit about this. She's from Sin City Sisters. And Sister Aura will be joining us next. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable daybed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit SapphirePoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent, on-site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call. 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. And tell them I sent you. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. I want you guys to check out my favorite gaming bar in town. Of course, I'm talking about Jackson's Bar and Grill. Great food, great atmosphere. I'm there a couple times a week, and I got to tell you, the machines have been a little loose lately. I'm not guaranteeing it. They've been a little loose for me. I took my parents out there the other day, and we had some dinner. They had a phenomenal time, and they've got great promotions as well. If you're in the service industry, you get a $50 match play once a week. How cool is that? You go through $50 and you get $50 in free play. That's just awesome. And if you're a police officer and you're in uniform, you get a free lunch as well. They take care of people in the community. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Great gaming bar. Check them out. Chances are you might see me there because I'm there quite a bit. Me and C Win. All right, so I've talked. I shouldn't say I've talked a lot about it as much as so many people on the far right that are bigots seem to want to talk about how drag queens are just the worst thing in the world, reading books to kids. And, oh my God. I mean, the attacks on the LGBTQ community alone by people on the far right disgust me. So I said to myself, I'm going to go down to one of these drag queen readings. I did last month. I want to see what all the fuss is about. Now, I didn't think they were doing anything wrong, but I just wanted to go to experience it myself. Guess what? I had a great time. Everybody was having fun. The kids were smiling. It was all just about treating everybody the same as equals. The food was good. The drinks were good. And everybody was having a good time, and nobody was judging everybody. That's what fun should look like. So I met some drag queens there, and I said, man, it'd be really great to actually interview someone who does this, who could maybe give me a little bit of insight. And I met Sister Aura there, a part of Sin City Sisters, a group here in Las Vegas. And Sister Aura, who is a drag queen, joins us now in studio. Thank you so much, first of all, for being here. I really appreciate that. Thank you. How you doing?
I am fabulous today. Thank you so much for inviting the sisters. I wish there were more of me that were here, but
there'll be other times.
They'll be working.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about your outfit first.
Because I like about
I like the shoes. I like the shoes, by the way.
Oh, the little box?
Yes. Yeah. I don't think I could pull it off like you do. But but tell me, how do you get this outfit together first? Let's start there.
Well, you start with a color. So here in this order, every sister is associated with a color, and mine, of course, is pink.
Yep.
Wanted to do something a little summery because it is daytime and it's hot outside, and I had no idea what the air conditioning was going to be like in here, so wanted to be a little cool. But I wouldn't say that we're drag queens, though.
What would be the proper word to describe it?
We are 21st century queer nuns.
I like that. Okay, I like that. Okay, okay. So queer nun. I want to get that right.
And what I would differentiate between drag queens and what the sisters are is drag is kind of a performance,
right?
Whereas we are more, fundraising, community support, taking care of,
gotcha,
different things within our community.
Sin City Sisters, do they do any book readings? Do they do any activities?
We haven't.
Do you do any activities with kids? Any
we do,
charity
actually.
So tell me about that.
So Monday, we're with Las Vegas Pride. Mm-hmm. They have a LGBT skate night, Pride skate night, at Crystal Palace. I think it's Crystal Palace. Sure. Is that on Rancho?
Yep.
Yeah. It's at Crystal Palace, and it's very kid friendly. So all families of
anybody's invited, right? Doesn't matter what your sexuality is. Doesn't matter what your age is.
No.
Anybody can come.
Anybody
and have a good time.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I want to talk to you about. Whether you're a drag queen, whatever the case may be, if you're a man that dresses in female clothing, I hate to use that term, or if you're a woman who dresses in male clothing, whatever. People put labels on everything, which I don't like.
Drag.
Yeah. In general, you know what I'm talking about. There are people out there in society, luckily not the majority, but there are people out there in society that think you being anywhere near children, bad. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, obviously, I disagree with that. When you hear politicians talk like that, I would imagine that must upset you, but what goes through your mind when you hear people put a negative on the things that, for example, the Sin City Sisters do? What goes through your mind?
Well, I think there's a lot of misinformation that's out there. I think right now we're in a really polarized country, society, but I honestly feel like what's going on right now with all of the targeting of the LGBTQ community, Florida and in the U.S., but mainly Florida going on right now. I really think it's just they kind of know the gig's up. the Republican Party. They know that their time is coming to an end, and they're trying anything they can to keep hold of just that little bit of power. And it's failing. Like, look what happened yesterday in Ohio with they wanted to change the rules midstream, and the residents said, nope.
You're not doing it, including Republicans, by the way. Not just
including
Democrats.
Republican, right.
And some of this stuff is happening in large Republican areas where they're still not winning.
And I would say that so to go back, I don't think that necessarily all Republicans as a whole feel like the gig is up. I think that the extreme right Republicans that have really kind of come to the forefront of hatred and bigotry over the last 6 years.
And you know what's interesting, Sister Aura, is when people use the term weird. Okay, what's weird to one person might not be weird to somebody else.
Right.
People consider me weird for some of the things that I do and some of my habits. You probably consider other people might be a little weird or strange with their behaviors. But a good person is not going to treat them differently. A good person is going to respect them so long as they're not breaking the law, which clearly your group is not doing.
Correct.
That's what frustrates me. It's like, okay, you might not be like me, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lie and say that you're indoctrinating our kids. Or like if you're transgender and somehow you go into a bathroom that says men or woman, that means if you're transgender, you have a better chance of molesting a child, which, by the way, is also not true.
Correct.
I just feel like you said it yourself. There's so much misinformation, right?
Well, misinformation, but also ignorance.
Right.
I mean, honestly, if any of what they were doing, and by they I mean the extreme right, if any of what they were doing was for the safety of children, they wouldn't let them go to church, right?
It's a very valid point you bring up. And just like we talk about all Republicans, obviously I'm not going to sit here and say all people who work in churches are bad, but if you look at all the, and there are quite a few, I'm sorry, of priests and people that work in churches that have molested kids, and by the way, they've thrown that under the rug in many of these cases we don't hear about until years and decades later. You are 100% correct. I agree with you.
Well, what's funny about the whole drag show thing is most drag shows are at night, and my whole thought is, why are you taking your children into a gay bar at night? Like, it's like if you don't want to see if you don't want your children to see a drag show, don't take them to a gay bar at night.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
So it's not like we're invading, mainstream heterosexual establishments and putting on drag shows.
Let me ask you another question about drag queens that maybe is a misconception. I'm not extremely educated on this, but when people use the term drag queen, they assume that that person must be gay. And I know that there are some people that are drag queens that are not gay, that are straight. That's another misconception, right?
Yes, I think that it's not the majority or even 50-50 by any stretch of the imagination. But there are heterosexual drag queens. There's also heterosexual females that do drag performances. And
I went to this drag queen reading or drag queen performance where I met you. And as I said to start the segment, everybody was having a good time. There was nothing sexual, nothing sexualized. The only message that I heard was, be happy with who you are. Let's treat everybody with respect. Oh, my God, what a terrible message to send to children, right? Oh, my gosh. Like,
let's give them more fire drills or what do they call it? The active shooter drills. Let's give them more of those because that's definitely keeping them safe.
Yeah, that's definitely working. Where does this come from? Why are there so many people on the far right that in focusing now on drag queens reading books to kids that say that drag queens are indoctrinating kids? Where is that coming from? I haven't seen one video of a drag queen reader that was saying things that were beyond inappropriate to kids. Like, where does this come from?
I have no idea. I wish I knew.
Yeah.
I think it just comes from fear of, we're in a society right now that is completely in flux. Like we just came out of a pandemic, people weren't working, and now they had to latch on to something to feel like little bit of control that they might have, and transgenders was in the news a lot, so that became their main focus. Heaven forbid a transgender woman use the female bathroom. You wouldn't be equally as weirded out if she came into the men's room.
I just go in there and to do my business.
Right.
And I leave. And I'm not looking around, oh, is that person a transgender? Are they looking at me? No, I go in there and I do my business and I leave. And the idea that they're going in there, listen, I also understand the other argument, which is, if a 16 or 17-year-old boy claims that he is a woman, probably shouldn't be showering with 16, 17, 18-year-old girls. I do think there's a line there that you should cross. But if you've had the full transgender surgery, I'd say you're pretty committed, and you're not doing that so you can go into a bathroom to look at naked women. I mean, there's a line that you probably shouldn't cross. I want to get your take on this. And I've been pretty outspoken about this, too. While I am pro-LGBTQ friendly, anybody who knows me knows that. I think anybody should be a transgender if that's what they want, as long as there's a parent, a guardian that agrees with it, and then you've gone through the process. I have no problem with that. But here's what I do have a problem with. Transgender women competing with other women on the playing field. I don't like that. I think it's unfair. Now, that's my opinion. I want to know what your opinion is on that.
Well, honestly, I don't really have one. I mean, I do see the argument that it isn't, fair because of, male body versus female body. However, I don't know what all of the hormones that they take, how that changes their physiology. That would probably be better addressed to somebody who's gone through transition, because they very well may be on the same playing field once they've gone through the full, because they're kind of loaded full of estrogen, right, and female hormones to change their body to be female. So yeah, I don't know what the answer to that is, but I would guess that they're probably not as physically, I don't know how to say this. I would doubt that they have the physical makeup of the male body that once they've gone through a transition.
I think it's probably a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
I think it depends. The first person I think of is a swimmer named Leah Thomas, who as a man was 440th in the country as a male swimmer in college. Didn't get the transgender surgery, but identified as a woman. And by the way, I don't care. I'll call you a woman or a man, and I'll be respectful, regardless of what my personal beliefs are. I'm not going to, I'm going to treat people with respect. But then she's number one in the country as a woman. And I say to myself, you don't go from 440 to 1 just from working hard in the off season.
That's true.
But I agree with what you said also, in that, in some cases, maybe it's not an advantage. I think it's a case-by-case basis. So there has to be some sort of fair guidelines put in place, I think. For obviously what Leah Thomas is doing, in my opinion, is wrong. If you're just joining us, Sister Aura in studio from Sin City Sisters. What would be your message to some Republicans out there and people on the right? Because that's where most of this hate is coming from, let's be honest.
Yeah.
That would say, you're indoctrinating kids. I don't want you around children. What would be your response to that?
Grow up. Calm down. Taylor Swift, you need to calm down. Take it down a notch. There's zero proof that is happening. That's always cracked me up when they're like, oh, you want to groom children. It's like, my generation, Gen X, we tried everything possible to not be gay. Right? It wasn't accepted then. We had hid who we were. And when people would start throwing around this is your choice, it was like, you're fucking kidding me. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Can
You're
I say
effing
that?
kidding me. Yeah.
You're effing kidding me.
Yeah.
Why would I choose to be bullied at school? Why would I choose to be ostracized in society? Why would I choose? Now, this generation has it a little easier, but that's kind of where now the bullies are in Congress. instead of in the school. The schools are pretty much open-minded. It's the bullies in Congress who are trying to ban everything and say that there was good things about being a slave and bad things about.
It's ridiculous.
Which is ridiculous.
You bring up a very good point, Sister Aura, and I want to talk about this because some people that I talk to that are ignorant, and I talk to these people every day. Don't ask me why.
I know. I've seen your show.
Oh yeah, you see me get red in the face all the time.
I was kind of worried coming in today. I was like, are we gonna have any callers?
No.
Because
we'll stay away from that. But it's interesting because I have conversations with ignorant people that say, why are there so many transgenders today? Why are there so many people coming out as gay today? Why are there so many drag queens today? And my response is to what you said, which is 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago and beyond, people weren't as comfortable as being able to come out and be who they are because there were so many people that would attack them for their sexuality or who they want to be. Now, there are still some of those people today, but luckily not as many, and it's more accepted. And I say, there were always people who were gay. There were always men who wanted to dress in female clothing, but the reason why many of them didn't do it is because of people like you who judged them and made them feel bad and made them feel different. You agree with that?
I think that there's a lot of truth in that. I don't think that there's any more or less, LGBT people on the planet right now. I think that it's just that.
But they're more comfortable in being able to be who they are.
They're more comfortable with
right.
Being who they are and living their truth.
Right.
And everybody should have the right to live their truth. And, my whole thing with, rights is like, okay, if you don't agree with dressing up in women's clothing, don't dress up in women's clothing.
Exactly.
Like, how is that difficult? Like, if you don't agree with marrying a person of the same sex, don't marry somebody of the same sex. Like, but your belief in that shouldn't dictate my rights to live an authentic life.
Could not agree with you more. Like, if you walked into a church dressed like the way you're dressed, do you think there are some churches that would kick you out?
Oh, yes.
They would.
Yes.
How Christian of them, right?
Yes.
How Christian of them.
Well, I don't know that they would kick me out. They would probably ask me what I was doing there, because they would think that I was probably not there on the best of intentions. And if I was dressed like this, they might be correct. Like it would just. I mean, we probably
they would think that it would be a distraction.
They would think it would be a distraction, but they would also wonder why I was there.
Have you ever had interactions like that where you've gone to events or gone to different places where you've been the victim of discrimination because of the way you were dressed?
Because of the way I was dressed? Well, they tried, but...
Where did that happen?
Oh, I used to do drag like many, many, many years ago. Mm-hmm. And, going into, Denny's after the bars closed and... which I know doesn't happen here, but
let's talk about that. You go into
and people making snide comments, and I never let it bother me. But
so you're out having a good time with your friends. You go to a bar, having a couple drinks. Maybe you're off the next day, just like anybody else. You want to go out, hang out with your friends, having a good time, and then you want to get something to eat, and you go with your friends to Denny's, and who knows, maybe you're dressed like this. Who knows? So people will actually come up to you. See, because I don't know what that feels like. And I can't imagine you seem like you take it well, but it just sounds so horrible to me, that you would have to deal with something like that.
Well, we're pretty good. Well, back when that was kind of going on, we know what places we can congregate in and what places
are more friendly.
Yeah. So, these were places that the gay community often went to after the bars closed. So the establishment knew that was their clientele, and we felt relatively safe. But there was, once in a while, people who would be in there that were, kind of rude and homophobic, and
so they would just go up to like a gay slur or something like that. Just say
faggot.
Oh, it's just awful. Listen, there's a word for that. They're called bigots.
Yeah.
That's what they are. They are bigots. And by the way, the people that are so, in my opinion, you can tell me whether you disagree or not, I find the people in this country that are so anti-gay, right, and they talk about how being gay is such a sin, sometimes are the people that are afraid to come out of the closet themselves.
Well, so that was my point before when you were like,
Yeah.
Is there more? Are there more of you now than there used to be? Because and it's like, no, I just think that people are more comfortable. Like, I mean, there's a lot of closeted people out there. Still, a lot of closeted people out there. But now with it more and more being accepted in mainstream, and again, that's not in every corner of the United States. It's still very dangerous in some places. But for the most part, it's accepted by mainstream America. That's why the majority of voters today are, kind of backing. It's kind of funny because 10, 20 years ago, I would have never heard a newscaster on a mainstream news network say, it's awful what the right is doing to these children who just want to express them. Like that would have never came out of somebody's mouth on MSNBC or NBC or CBS but I'm like, wow, how things have changed, that now you're like, this is just sad that they won't let these kids be who they want to be.
Yeah,
I'm like, so I feel like we have more people on our side than we have
and I'm
not on our side.
And I'm certainly one of them, and I call out hatred and bigotry whenever I see it. It's
and
disgusting.
that's the thing. Like, people need to step up and call it out when they hear it. Not just LGBT, anything.
Across the board. Racism 100%. Anti-Semitism.
Exactly. If you're at Thanksgiving dinner and your asshole relatives are making like stupid jokes, call them out.
All right, I got to ask you a loaded question now. I don't know what your answer is going to be because I don't know what your political affiliation is, but what do you make of Donald Trump? I have to ask you.
You said it was going to be Ron DeSantis.
I could ask you about Ron DeSantis too, because he's definitely not
Donald Trump. I don't think we have enough time. I think he's a washed up television personality. I think he is probably the most narcissistic person I've ever heard. And I don't know if he even believes the stuff that comes out of his. I don't even know if he believes it. I think he says it because he knows that it gets a reaction. And I think that he uses it because he knows it'll get him where he wants to go.
You're probably right. I bring up Ron DeSantis because I think if Ron DeSantis was the president, which I don't think he will be, he's more dangerous even than Donald Trump. I think he's a dictator. Certainly, his entire platform is going after the LGBTQ community and going after people like you. It seems to be his entire platform these days.
Yes. I would say yes, and I don't know that he's more dangerous than Trump, and this is my own personal
They're
opinion.
both dangerous, yeah.
The only reason I say that is I have not heard, I know he acts this way, but I have not heard Ron DeSantis, praise Putin or praise Kim Jong-un or, I think Trump wants to be a Putin or a Kim Jong-un. It's like, before Trump, it was like, oh my God, Bush, right? Now I'm like, wait, okay, so Bush wasn't that. At least I never feared for the safety of our country.
Right.
I never feared that he was good. Can you imagine Bush ever saying that Putin is a nice guy?
No, or writing love letters to Kim Jong-un.
Right.
I tell you, you're right. Trump makes
it would have never happened.
Trump makes Bush look like a sweetheart, and I was far from a Bush. I think Bush Sr. had a little bit more class, but
I think DeSantis's policies are probably more dangerous.
Like the Don't Say Gay bill and what he did with Disney.
But I don't know that. I don't think I wouldn't be worried that we would be a communist country with DeSantis.
Sure.
That's not to say that I think that it would be a rosy 4 years. It would be miserable, but
right.
But I do have a fear of Trump getting back in office because, I mean, look what he did before. He's going to be off the charts. If he gets reelected. Yeah. I don't think he will, but I don't put anything past American people.
Neither do I. Let me ask you a little bit about, and even though I assume you're not transgender,
No.
I'm making that assumption.
But I am non-binary.
Got you. Okay. All right. So you're a good person to ask this question then. Another big controversy in this country, and I don't think it should be, but it's about kids that some people on the right say are being indoctrinated and having transgender surgery. They use the term mutilation. I don't use that term. My personal belief is that if a kid, whether 8 years old or 17 years old, wants to be a transgender, as long as it goes through their family, guardians, and then they speak to multiple doctors, maybe even psychologists, go through all the proper channels, then they should be allowed to have that surgery. That's my personal opinion. Now, there are a lot of people in this country that disagree with me on that. So I want to get your take on that. When do you think it's appropriate, and what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think that everybody has a right to live the life that they want to live. I don't know what too young would look like, but I do know that to go through that process, they do have psychiatrists, and they do have therapy, and they do have. I mean, it's not just they woke up on Tuesday and went, "Mom, I think I want to be a girl," and on Wednesday they were getting a sex change. Like it's a long process.
Correct.
And it involves doctors and therapists and psychiatrists and the parents. I think it's great that parents are even entertaining the idea of letting their children explore their sexuality.
Sure. If somebody said to you, Sister Aura, well, wait a second, if you're 16 years old or 12 years old, you can't buy alcohol, you can't drive a car, why should you be allowed to get a sex change? What would be your response to that? That's an argument I hear from people on the far right.
Well, I would say, why shouldn't I be allowed to? Like, I can get pregnant.
Right. That's true. That's
I can get
true.
somebody pregnant.
Right.
You can drive.
If you're 16, yep.
So I would say, I mean, what is it? Why is it bothering you so much? That's what I would say. Like,
they're not your kids.
Mind your business.
Right.
Like, if they're making a mistake, they're making a mistake. Like,
by the way, a lot of people that I get into these arguments with don't even have kids. Which
right.
drives me
and
crazy.
I don't have kids, so I'm like,
Right.
Now I can only speak for like me growing up. If I grew up in this era, in this generation, I probably would be going through transgender.
Let me ask you
because when I knew that I was, I was telling people when they would ask, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Ever since I was 6, I want to be a girl.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. No,
So
you're
I
not
knew,
the first person to tell me that.
I knew.
So why not now?
It's just a personal decision.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't have any gender dysmorphia. Like,
Right.
I don't hate my gender. I just
Gotcha.
don't identify with my gender.
Fair enough. So I talked to. So what? That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Like, so you knew when you were like 5 or 6 years old.
Oh my God. Yeah.
As a boy, you wanted to dress in female clothing, which, by the way, I see absolutely nothing wrong with at all.
The minute my mother left the house, I was in her closet.
And there are a lot of people that don't understand that. Like, I talk to people actually who are gay people, openly gay, and I say, let me ask you, because I like to learn, right? I like to ask people that are different than me, and I like to learn. I say to them, when did you know that you were gay? And a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them tell me it was pre-puberty, that they knew 5, 6, 7, 8 years old that they were not attracted to the opposite sex. And for you, you're saying you wanted to dress in female clothing when you were very young. Right?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was convinced that I was going to be a woman when I grew up. Like,
right.
And that's I don't know where that came from, but
and there are a lot of people that want to say, "Oh, that's somebody who's mentally ill." Again, these are not my words. I don't talk like this, but I talk to people every day that think if you're transgender or if you're dressed in an outfit that, for example, you're dressed in, that person must be mentally ill. Talk to those people that make those statements that I believe are incorrect.
It doesn't affect you. Like, I mean, there's a lot of mental illness in society, but I don't think that it's rampant in the LGBT community. I think that it takes a lot of courage to live your authentic self, whether that's going through gender reassignment, or if that means, being gay or lesbian, or if that means being bisexual, I think it takes a lot of courage to say, I don't care what you think.
Right.
I'm going to live my truth.
Sure.
I'm not here to live your truth.
The idea that, and I'm sure you've heard of this, where, there are Republicans out there like Mike Pence who believe that you shouldn't be allowed to serve in the military if you're transgender. I find that to be abhorrent and disgusting. What are your thoughts on that? You're a person that's willing to risk their life for the country. I'm not sure there's anything more patriotic.
I agree. And I think that, God love them. I don't know why they would want to, but I couldn't tell them I was gay quick enough to get out of the Navy. Yeah. And that was before I was even out. I knew that I had had sex with men, and I knew that it would, and I was like, look, I'm gay. I can't be here.
Yeah, and you don't want to be treated differently. What do you make of the Mulvaney situation with Bud Light? What do you make of Mulvaney, and what do you make of the whole Bud Light situation?
I think it was amazing.
Yep.
I think she's amazing. I think that she is a role model to a lot of youth, whether they be, transgender youth, or whether they just be somebody who's being judged for who and what they are. I think she's been a great inspiration. And I'm a little jealous. I wish that there's no way. I did everything in my power to keep people from knowing I was gay when I was her age.
What is that like to, who you are?
Yeah.
But what is it like to have to keep that within yourself and, in a way, hide it from people in fear of the way people will react towards you? I can't imagine how difficult that must be, Sister Aura, to not be able to be who you are in fear of people's reactions. That has to be like hell. I can't understand how tough that must have been for you. It's
kind of like asking me what would it have been like to not have that. I don't know.
You've had to deal with it your whole life.
Right. I don't know. I know that when I came out, I didn't let people treat me that way any longer.
Right.
Like I didn't accept gay slurs. I didn't accept being talked down to. I didn't tolerate any of that behavior. And because I didn't walk that way, I didn't get a lot of it. So
well, that's good.
Yeah. So as an adult, I mean, because I came out when I was 19.
Right.
So,
if you don't mind me asking, are you married?
Yes.
Oh, you are.
26 years.
To another man, I would imagine. Yep. Legal marriage.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Well, we've been together 26 years. Of course, we've been married. I know I'm going to get this
because gay
wrong.
marriage was
I think
illegal.
It's 14 years.
Gotcha.
That it got 14 years.
And by the way, I have always been on the side of gay marriage should be the same as straight marriage.
My mother was married 7 times.
Was she really?
I felt like I should have at least gotten one stab at
it. 7 marriages?
I've had 1.
When you came out at 19, how did your family react to that?
Well, it was always just me and my mom, and
I don't know what that noise is. There's drilling somewhere. Go ahead, don't let it bother you.
I thought we were being too loud or something.
There's Ron DeSantis next door.
Right?
Yeah.
Yay, come over. Let's chat. Well, of course, she wasn't thrilled with the idea. It was back in the 80s. Right?
Sure.
So she wasn't thrilled with the idea, but then she ended up being very supportive, but she was a little hateful when I first came out.
But she's come around.
Well, she's passed, but she did come around. Yeah.
Sorry to hear that. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
No father in your life, or
nope.
That's unfortunate. That had to be difficult for you growing up, I would imagine.
Well, I had 4 of them.
Yeah. That sucks. That sucks. But I'm glad that your mother eventually came around and accepted you.
Yeah.
That had to be very difficult. I want to give you an opportunity before we go, because this segment has gone pretty fast. We've talked about a lot of different issues. I want you to talk about Sin City Sisters. I want you to talk about this organization. I want you to talk about the event that I believe you're having on Monday. We want to get as many people out there as possible to support what your group is doing, which I commend you for doing that.
Well, we're supporting their group, so it's not our event. But,
Gotcha.
So Sin City Sisters, actually the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence is a worldwide order, started in 87 in San Francisco. I'm sorry, 78.
Oh, wow.
Just like
long time ago.
78 in San Francisco, right before the AIDS epidemic, and that was really kind of what kind of blossomed the sisters into who we are now globally, because we were the first organization to come up with the safe sex pamphlet, and we actually coined the phrase safe sex. So that's and if anybody's wondering, that is a question in the original Trivial Pursuit. So if you get that question on the original game, it's the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence.
I like it.
So we started by doing safe sex outreach, and of course at that time, caring for a lot of people who were HIV positive, and so as it's blossomed around the world, each order kind of works within their community wherever the need arises. So it's usually, well, I shouldn't say usually, it's almost always LGBT focused, but they do things a little differently in different orders. Like San Francisco, for instance, they do events all year long, and then they have grants that people will apply for. The Sin City Sisters, we actually are kind of unique in the worldwide order. We have a nonprofit called SADAP, which is the Sisters AIDS Drug Assistance Program. So we help offset the cost of AIDS and HIV medication for people who are in either financial need or in low-income situations. So we make sure that
that's great.
Nobody ever goes without their medication until they're.
Well, look at that. So you're actually saving lives and helping people.
Yeah,
I don't
like
hear
a nun.
How about that? I don't hear anything about indoctrinating kids or sexualizing children. You're raising money for charity and helping people. Well, Sister Aura.
Well, let me tell you. So
sure.
But I know we got to.
That's okay. Go ahead.
So. Yes, Monday we have the skate night at Crystal Palace. But we have an event. Our next event is called Project Nunway. It's actually just like the show Project Runway, only the designers design the sisters. And then it's a competition to see what designer
I might have to check that out. That sounds fun.
It's fun. And this year's theme is 80s Rewind. It's going to be at the Sahara Theater.
That's a nice theater.
And we have Chad Michaels going to be performing, and Alexis Mateo is going to be the host.
Oh, cool. And that's where Magic Mike is, by the way. That's a really nice theater over there. Yeah. I bet you would
hoping-
enjoy that.
We're hoping that we haven't got confirmation yet, but we might see them.
That would be awesome. Well, you guys are welcome back. You're welcome back. Anybody from your group is welcome back in the studio. Maybe, I don't know, we can talk about this later, but maybe we can get somebody in studio that maybe is anti, whatever, transgender, anti-drag queen, anti-whatever, and maybe we can get one of you in studio to educate them. That would be an interesting discussion.
I don't think that's possible.
It's hard to do, but believe it or not, it might be possible. Maybe 1 out of 100. Maybe we can hope for that, but maybe we can do that down the road. Anybody from your organization, including yourself, Sister Aura, you're welcome back anytime. I appreciate you being here and educating people on the good things that you guys do and the positives. And I haven't seen or heard any negatives. The hateful people do that. Anyway, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate that. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, one of the officers involved in the George Floyd murder has just been sentenced. Chauvin's already in jail, but we'll give you an update on that. And then coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to be speaking to Henry Rugg's personal attorney, David Chesnoff. Henry Rugg's just sentenced to 3 to 10 years in jail this morning. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
The radio show Unscaled with Jeremy Lowe. Saturday afternoons at 2 on KSHP North Las Vegas, AM and FM, K29 6HP North Las Vegas, and KSHP.com.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines, beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable day bed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit sapphirepoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on-site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call. 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. And tell them I sent you. Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement, and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices. Office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
When you bring your vehicle to Star Auto Care for maintenance, you'll have a team of professionals at your service. Every one of our technicians has been factory trained and master status certified to ensure that you receive the highest quality and most effective service. Star Auto Care is located at 3540 East Tropicana Avenue, just east of Pecos. Star Auto Care is confident in their prices and will match any mechanic located within 20 miles. Bring your vehicle in today and let Star Auto Care give you the peace of mind you deserve when you service your car. Visit them online at starautocare.us.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. I got to have you hit up my guy Blake Gwynn with Keller Williams Group. If you're thinking of buying or selling a home, he's lived here his whole life. His grandfather, the former governor of the great state of Nevada, and he helped my parents with the move out here, gave them some great advice. He's just a great guy, and if you're looking for somebody that knows a thing or two about Vegas, he's lived here his whole life. Give him a call. Blake Gwynn with Keller Williams Group, 702-540-3311. Again, 702-540-3311. My thanks to Sister Aura for coming in studio, by the way. I did like that outfit, by the way. That was a cool... I would have wore those shoes. I couldn't pull it off, though. I couldn't pull it off. We have Henry Ruggs' attorney joining us at the bottom of the hour, David Chesnoff. He does not do a lot of these interviews, and I've been trying to get him on the show for like years. Now that the Henry Ruggs case is officially over, officially this morning in a courtroom, Henry Ruggs getting the sentence between 3 to 10 years in prison. He's accepted responsibility according to his attorneys, so I texted David Chesnoff, celebrity attorney, and he has agreed to come on at the bottom of the hour. The debate, it's not going to be a debate about my feelings on DUI. Everybody knows how I feel about DUI. My grandmother died to a drunk driver. Yes, do I think the laws should change? Yes. Do I think that if you kill somebody driving while intoxicated, you should get a minimum sentence of 10 years? Yes. But that's not why I'm having David Chesnoff on. I'm having him to talk specifically about this case, and I want to ask him questions about his client, Henry Ruggs. Has he accepted responsibility? Is he truly sorry? What does he want to do for the rest of his life when he gets out? So David Chesnoff will be joining us again at the bottom of the hour. Quick programming note. Oh, boy, is this going to be fun. The man, the myth himself. Anthony Weiner is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Another guy that hasn't been doing a ton of interviews. But Anthony Weiner, I've been wanting to talk to this guy for a long time, way before he had all those scandals, because he was an up-and-coming star within the Democrat Party, and then we all know what happened. But he's still a pretty well-thought-out, intelligent man who made some bad mistakes. But I want to get his thoughts on the political spectrum and everything that's going on. So the Weiner will be joining us tomorrow. Blake Gwynn will be joining us in hour number 2 tomorrow, and then I always allow Justin to announce our guest that is going to be joining us on Friday in studio. I know he's excited about that. Who's joining us in studio Friday, Numchuck?
Courtney Tilia.
And who is she?
She is a teacher, former teacher, turned OnlyFans model.
Who got fired as a teacher for wearing clothing that was too sexy, and then it became national news. So she's going to be joining us in studio Friday. I get everybody here, man, from drag queens to controversial former politicians to OnlyFans models. You get it all here on Pushing the Limits. I want to give you guys an update on Officer Toy Tao. If you don't know who Officer Toy Tao is, he's the former Minneapolis police officer, one of 4 when George Floyd was killed. He was sentenced to 4 years and 9 months, and to this day he still denies any wrongdoing. He testified that he merely served as a human traffic cone when he held back concerned bystanders who gathered as former officer Derek Chauvin knelt on George Floyd's neck for 9.5 minutes while George Floyd pleaded for his life. Thank God for the bystanders, by the way, who videoed this. So let me be very clear. This goes to show you that if you're a police officer today, and somebody there, a police officer that is there, is committing a crime, in this case murder, and you just stand there and you don't do anything, you can be an accessory. That's exactly what took place on that day with George Floyd. And this has nothing to do with the person George Floyd was. Listen, we know that George Floyd wasn't a great guy, no matter what his family might say. George Floyd was not a good guy. But that has no bearing on what took place in those moments. Would it have been great if George Floyd wasn't trying to tender fake money? Yes. Would it have been great if George Floyd didn't have fentanyl in his system? Yes. But that still doesn't give a police officer the right to put their knee over somebody's neck for 9.5 minutes. And it certainly doesn't give this officer, and I'm going to talk about Officer Tao now, the right to just stand there and not do anything when somebody is being murdered. This is a very, very, very important case for a lot of different reasons. First of all, just because you don't commit the murder yourself doesn't mean you can't go to jail, just because you're wearing uniform, just because you're a police officer. It is an officer's duty that if you see another officer doing wrongdoing, that you stop them. And by the way, we're seeing videos of that now. I've seen videos on YouTube in the last few years of officers pushing other officers off of suspects. And the big thing about this case was, besides the flack, which I do believe race was involved, and we had Larry Elder on the show last week, and he said, well, none of these officers have been convicted of hate crimes. Just because an officer hasn't been charged or convicted of a hate crime doesn't mean that race wasn't a factor. And Derek Chauvin had 16, 17 complaints prior to this. He had made statements where he used to work part-time at a nightclub where he made derogatory statements about people who are black. So yes, I do believe race was a factor, and I don't believe that if George Floyd was white, the same thing would have happened. But that's here nor there now. There are people out there like Larry Elder that will constantly say that systemic racism doesn't exist. And, you know, all you have to do is bring up Ahmaud Arbery. Ahmaud Arbery was killed because he was black. He was not committing any crimes. He was killed because he was black jogging down the street. He wasn't committing any crimes. Just because you go through a construction site, which, by the way, was legal, he wasn't breaking the law, doesn't mean that 3 people can lynch you. This is why Ahmaud Arbery proves that systemic racism exists. Why does it exist? Not just because Ahmaud Arbery was lynched. Not just because 3 white Klansmen lynched him. That's bad enough. 12 officers watched the video of that lynching. None of those 3 white suspects, who are now all in jail, none of them were arrested that night. The video was shown to higher-ups within that police department. They also swept it underneath the rug, including the police chief. No charges were filed. Local politicians heard about the case. They swept it underneath the rug. From the top all the way down, the system was racist towards Ahmaud Arbery and his family, not giving them any information. The only reason why those 3 white Klansmen are behind bars right now, the only reason, is because the 3rd man who was charged released that video to a news outlet months after. If he doesn't release that video to a news outlet, those 3 white men are out and about today in society, and they probably would have murdered somebody else. That is the definition of systemic racism. It's not just a hate crime. It's not just a murder. It's not just a lynching. It's the way everybody in that city handled it, from the top all the way down, and that is the definition of systemic racism. Let me ask you a question. What would have happened if Ahmaud Arbery was white and 3 black men killed him? I guarantee you that all 3 would have been arrested that night, hands down. If that was 3 black men that killed an innocent white man jogging down the street, those 3 black men would have been arrested. Larry Elder cannot argue that. And those that say systemic racism doesn't exist, mainly white people that would say that, mainly MAGA supporters in the middle of the country, can't defend that. What happened to Ahmaud Arbery, he was the victim of systemic racism. Not just the victim of a murder and a lynching, but the months after. Systemic racism. That's why it exists. That's why it's here. And chances are, if you deny systemic racism exists, you're probably a racist yourself. It exists. And for all these people out there in society today that are saying that Officer Tao did nothing wrong, nonsense. Their job is to protect and serve. Their job is also to make sure that there is de-escalation. And when somebody is pinned on their stomach and they're handcuffed and they're not going anywhere, there is absolutely no reason to put your knee over somebody's neck, let alone for 9 minutes. That's why Derek Chauvin is behind bars. That's why he probably will never see the light of day again, and that's why he is a convicted murderer. That is why Officer Tao is going to jail. That is why he was sentenced to 56 months behind bars, because he's a coward and he did nothing but stand there and do nothing, and he never, ever accepted any responsibility for what he didn't do that day and allowed to happen. That's why he's going to jail. That's what's going on. That's why he's going to jail. Switching topics here real quickly, because I definitely do want to get into Donald Trump's comments when it comes to his indictments. I do also want to open up the phone lines, because I've had some people that say, hey, we want to call in. So I will open up the phone lines too. Anything we've talked about today, from the drag queen to drag queens and transgenders to, of course, the George Floyd case. I'll open up the phone lines now at 702-221-7283. Again, that number, 702-221-7283. 702-221-7283. We also have Henry Ruggs' attorney that is going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour, David Chesnoff. So that's going to be very, very interesting. I do want to bring this up before I get to calls. And again, that number, 702-221-7283. So Donald Trump made a speech yesterday, and in that speech, he's talking about all the indictments that he's facing and all the serious charges that he's facing, the felony charges. Donald Trump's response to that, to the crowd, was, and this is classic Donald Trump for you, he said, they want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. He told the crowd in New Hampshire yesterday. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. Yeah, that's exactly what this is all about, Mr. Trump. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So a 64-year-old resident who is a absolute brain-dead moron, and most of these people that go to these MAGA events are brain-dead idiots, uneducated fools. This guy or I should say this woman named Lorraine Rudd is her name. She was interviewed, and she said, if they can do it to him and take him down, they can come for me. What the hell are you talking about? Can you be this dumb? Can you be this much of a buffoon? No, ma'am. If one day you decide to hide classified documents and defy a subpoena, and if one day you decide to pressure secretaries of state to cheat in the election, if you decide one day to show classified documents to people that don't have security clearance, if one day you decide to break campaign finance law, then yes, the DOJ will probably come after you as well. But if you don't do that and you don't break the law, the DOJ probably won't come after you. So this woman is absolutely brain dead. And she said she firmly agreed that Trump's false claim that he won the 2020 election. Listen, after Trump was charged in June for retaining government secrets, he told a Republican gathering in Michigan, essentially, I'm being indicted for you. First of all, Donald Trump has never done anything for you. The last thing Donald Trump would do was get indicted and be facing serious felonies for you. Everything Donald Trump has ever done is for himself. Anything and everything Donald Trump ever does is never for anybody else but himself. It is ridiculous and crazy. And now we have somebody in Utah who was killed today. And another MAGA, a guy by the name of Craig Robertson from Provo, Utah, was killed today by the FBI during a raid after he made threats against Joe Biden. Some of his Facebook posts. Perhaps Utah will become famous this week as the place a sniper took out Biden, the Marxist. This type of hatred. In another one of his posts, he said, in my dream, I see Joe Biden's body in a dark corner of a D.C. parking garage with his head severed and lying in a huge puddle of blood. Hooray. Another post this man put up, who's now dead, by the way, one less idiot, violent moron in society, said, I hear Biden is coming to Utah, digging out my old ghillie suit and cleaning the dust off my M24 sniper rifle. Welcome, buffoon-in-chief. Wow, he's also stealing my words, which gets me very upset. Well, he won't be stealing my words anymore, will he? In another post, he said, hey, FBI, you still monitoring my social media? Checking so I can be sure to have a loaded gun handy in case you drop by again. Well, that didn't work very well for you, did it, Craig? Because you're dead, and you deserve it. First of all, you won't find anybody that is more anti-Donald Trump than me, but the last thing I would ever do is condone violence or talk about committing a serious crime on somebody because I disagree with them. There are crazy people in society, and that is why I say it over and over and over again. Words matter. Oh, but what about First Amendment right? What about First Amendment rights? Well, guess what? When you say that Hillary Clinton was running some pizza parlor with underage kids there and pedophiles there, when you say things like that, somebody shows up at your restaurant with a gun. That's what happened. When you spread false messaging and false information and lies and conspiracy theories, only bad things can come about that. And this man is now dead because he was a stupid, deranged moron, a MAGA moron who was mentally ill. Just like these mentally ill morons in New Hampshire yesterday who watched Donald Trump's speech, and some of them were convinced that Donald Trump is being indicted because it's for you. It's about your freedom of speech. It's about you. He doesn't want you to be silenced. I mean, it's just absurd. It's absurd. Here's somebody else, and this is your typical MAGA. This is your typical MAGA. This woman in New Hampshire, 64-year-old white woman, says she firmly agreed with Trump's false claim that the 2020 election was stolen. Okay, when somebody starts off by saying that, you know they don't have a brain. And then the argument by these MAGAs is, if they do it to him and take him down, they can come for me. So in other words, that means if somebody breaks the law and they're held to account, that means they might come after me also. Well, I agree. I agree. If you incite violence, or in this case, defy a subpoena when it comes to classified documents and, documents that, from what we're understanding, are possible attacks on Iran in your bathroom next to the toilet, you're probably going to get in trouble. The DOJ probably won't like that. When you pressure secretaries of state to overturn an outcome of election, when you pressure your vice president to overturn the outcome of election, when you have a fake electorate scheme because you're a crybaby and you can't admit that you lost, the DOJ will come after you. And it's not Joe Biden's DOJ. It's not George Soros's DOJ. It's not a Democrat-led DOJ. Jack Smith has gone after Democrats and prosecuted Democrats too. So this idea that these dummies want to say it's a two-tier justice system is a blatant lie. They seem to have no problem. They seem to have no problem at all when the DOJ will go after a Democrat. That's totally okay, but God forbid if it's a Republican. God forbid. It's absurd. Welcome to the two-tier justice system, right? It must be a two-tier justice system. It's got to be. It's got to be. And it makes absolutely and positively no sense at all. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to be joined by David Chesnoff. He is the attorney for Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs was just sentenced 3 to 10 years behind bars, and his attorney has agreed to come on the show and join us, and he'll be joining us next. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable day bed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit SapphirePoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent, on-site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call, 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. Tell them I sent you. Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement, and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices. Office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
Whether you're a corporate executive, on a family vacation, or just passing through, St. George Inn & Suites will meet your specific needs. It's conveniently located near restaurants, shopping, and movie theaters. St. George Inn & Suites offers a variety of room types, 2 fabulous pools and jacuzzis, a fitness center, a free full hot buffet breakfast, and laundry facilities. To make your booking, call 435-673-6661 or book online at stgeorgeinnhotel.com. You need to stop in Southern Utah? Make that stop at St. George Inn & Suites.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, it's national news, and it's a big local story, but it's also been a national story. Henry Ruggs, as you know, driving at very fast speeds under the influence, and an innocent woman was killed, and her dog. And this has been a big story. And now it seems like the legal aspects of it, for the most part, are over. He was sentenced to 3 to 10 years behind bars. And I've been wanting to talk to David Chesnoff about this for a long time. Obviously, he couldn't because it was ongoing, which I totally understand. And one of his attorneys who's represented Henry Ruggs, David Chesnoff, joins us right now on the line. David, I do appreciate you coming on and joining us. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Appreciate it, David. Okay, so this was a long process. It seems like it's finally over now. What are your thoughts?
Well, I want everyone to know that I really respected the feelings of the family of the young lady, and I think that Henry sincerely expressed to them his deep remorse and regret that they lost her as a consequence of his actions, and I'm 100% convinced it was sincere remorse, and I believe that when Henry finishes doing his prison sentence, that he will take steps to educate, especially young people, on the dangers of driving excessively fast and driving under the influence. And I think he's the kind of person that will be able to get the message across. He's a very nice and bright young man who, a lot of times in these cases, you have repeat offenders or you have alcoholics. It's very clear from Henry's history that he was neither. He had no record. He wasn't a partier. He was a very conscientious athlete. So I'm comfortable that he will keep his word, that he will do good when he's released from prison.
I would imagine this is probably not one of the things that are on his mind right now, but it's certainly a question that I would ask you. Does he believe one day that he will play football again? Has he ever talked to you about that?
He's been completely focused on the loss that these people suffered, and those conversations have not occurred. He wants to accept responsibility, accept his punishment, and whatever happens in the future, I think Henry will be a success at in general. So that's the best answer I can give you.
Has he ever spoken to you about the possibility, maybe when he gets out, of speaking with the Tintor family? I don't even know if they would want to speak to him, but has he expressed that to you at all?
Well, I don't really like to talk about what my clients tell me, but I'll answer it this way, that Henry is certainly the type of person that if those folks wanted to talk to him, he would definitely talk to them.
3 to 10 years was the sentence. Would you make the assumption, based on everything you've said about your client, that you would assume that he probably won't spend longer than 5 or 4 years?
Sorry, I lost you there.
I was just talking about your client and the sentence, the 3 to 10 year sentence. Is it fair to assume that, with everything you've said about Henry Ruggs, that he will do his time and he'll behave behind bars, that it's possible that he might only spend 3 years behind bars? Is that very possible?
I don't like to predict what authorities are going to do. I'm hopeful that Henry gets out at the earliest time he can. I guess that's the best way to put it. And I'm very confident that he will not get in any trouble. He's a very soft-spoken and, not a I don't know what the word is. I've represented a lot of celebrated people and athletes, and he's about as low-key as it gets.
In your estimation, Mr. Chesnoff, you've had some very high-profile cases in your career. Do you think this was fair? Do you think the 3 to 10 year sentence, in your estimation, in representing your client to the best of your ability, which I think clearly you did, was this a fair judgment?
Yeah, I think the fact that all the parties were able to reach it and the court was very comfortable with it speaks to that. And yes, it's a fair result in the total circumstance, and everyone would have to understand him and the legal issues and his background and of not having ever been in trouble before, and the people that expressed how much they care about him, going all the way back to his high school days when he was basically living on his own and taking care of his little brother. I think it was a fair result, and I'm hopeful that the family of Miss Tintor can find some peace, and I'm hopeful that Henry has a good future.
Absolutely. I guess the question that I wanted to ask you is, everything you've said about Henry Ruggs and people that have known him, they've said a lot of very good things about him. He had his whole life ahead of him. Tina Tintor is now gone. This is a man that was a very successful player on the field, very well liked off the field, obviously financially well off. The question is why? And I know this was a horrible mistake that he made. We all agree on that. But why? When we reflect on this, why? Why do you think he made that decision?
I wouldn't. I think only God really knows the answer to that question. But I just ask everybody to think about decisions that they've made that have been mistaken decisions throughout their lives, and reflect on the fact that, people are human beings. And I know that Henry deeply regrets what happened and his conduct, and that's the best answer I can give you.
I understand. Now, David, before we let you go, I got to ask you this. You know that there are going to be people out there, talking about this story that are going to say, oh, he got a slap on the wrist and this is unfair and he was treated differently because he was an NFL football player. There are going to be naysayers out there that are going to make statements like that, and I know you can't control everybody's opinions, but I want to ask you, what would you say to those people?
I would say that since all the parties were in agreement that this was the right result, and those parties the information that people should respect our judicial system, respect the courts, and understand that this was a just resolution. And, he's been on house arrest for 2 years. He gets no credit for that, and now he's going to prison. So if people want to hate, there's far too much hate in the world as far as I'm concerned.
I want to ask you your opinion, if you can answer this. In your estimation, in your opinion, do you think he'll ever play football again?
I'm going to stick to being a lawyer. And,
okay, fair enough.
Not a scout.
Fair enough. I understand that. Before I let you go, I do want to plug your cigar bar because I'm over there at Resorts World all the time. You're partial owner of it's one of the greatest cigar bars I've ever been to. I want to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about that. I saw that the Raiders owner.
No, I'm going to cut you off.
Okay.
What we talked about is too serious.
I understand.
Subject for me
no problem.
to go, and I wish you a good afternoon. And I did promise you that when it was over, I would talk to you.
You're a man of your word. You're a man of your word, right. Mr. Chesnoff. I appreciate your time, sir. You have a good day, and thank you for jumping on with us. We appreciate it.
All right.
Take
care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I wanted to give him an opportunity to, plug his cigar bar because I do appreciate him coming on, but he's probably right. This is a very serious subject, and probably now is not the time to talk about that, and I appreciate him actually saying that. I do. I'm so used to when I do interviews with people plugging something they got going on, talking about something that they got going on business-wise. But listen, David Chesnoff is a very successful attorney, I think is the word that I would use. David Chesnoff is a very skilled attorney. He is a very high-profile attorney. And he's right. It's a very serious case. And listen, I have my opinions on DUI. I don't agree with our justice system and the way they handle DUIs. As I've talked about the Tina Tintor family for years now, they're very nice people, and I've talked to a few of them off the air. They don't really want to do media, and quite frankly, I don't blame them. I don't blame them. This young woman was killed because Henry Ruggs decided to get into his car intoxicated and go upwards of 150 miles an hour on Rainbow. And in my personal opinion, it doesn't matter if you've been a model citizen before you commit this horrible act. It doesn't matter. Maybe the courts say it matters to look at somebody's past, and maybe the judge will give somebody leniency, which, by the way, I don't agree with. The fact of the matter is, in this case, Henry Ruggs decided to get into a car, driving upwards of 150 miles an hour while intoxicated, and killed an innocent young woman in Tina Tintor and her dog. And I can't think of a worse way to go than to be literally burning alive. And in the last moments of Tina Tintor's life, I can't even imagine the pain that she went through. So David Chesnoff is right. This is a very serious, serious case. I don't believe when you're going 150 miles an hour intoxicated and you kill somebody that 3 years is enough. And mark my words, I'm telling you right now, Ruggs will not be spending more than 3 years behind bars. he was able, because of his football prowess, to hire some of the best attorneys that money can buy. And David Chesnoff and Richard Schoenfeld are very skilled attorneys, and they're very good at what they do, and that's why they're very expensive. I also believe that if this was any regular day person that couldn't afford an attorney, that got public defenders, that they would have probably gotten at least double the sentence. That is why I call it the injustice system. And if you're just joining us, we just had David Chesnoff on the line, the attorney to Henry Ruggs. He was just sentenced 3 to 10 years behind bars, and that's it. The case is over. In the courtroom, Chesnoff, Schoenfeld said that Ruggs is prepared to serve his prison sentence, and the first thing he brought up was the Tintor family, and he's, sincerely apologizing. Obviously, apologies won't bring her back. It's a problem in this country. Drunk driving, especially in Las Vegas with the 24/7 lifestyle, which obviously we have. But I think this is injustice, and I understand that David Chesnoff and Richard Schoenfeld, they're skilled attorneys, they represent Ruggs, and I know they would disagree with me on that, and that's fine. I'm speaking from a human being perspective. When you decide to get into your car and you go over 150 miles an hour and you're drunk and you kill somebody, 3 years is ridiculous. Our justice system and some of the parts of our justice system need to change. While I believe for the most part in our justice system, there are things that need to change. And when you kill somebody getting behind the wheel, to me it's like putting bullets in a gun and you're drunk and you start shooting everywhere and you kill somebody. To me, it's the same thing. You're playing Russian roulette with society. Three years is not enough. Listen, I have to ask the football questions because there's a lot of people that are going to want to know, hey, is Henry Ruggs ever going to play football again? He might not. You're damn right he's going to be thinking about that when he's behind bars. Obviously, we should be thinking about Tina Tintor. Obviously, we should be thinking about the Tintor family and the suffering that they've had to go through. This young woman did nothing wrong. She was working at a local store here in town. I believe a Target, if I'm not mistaken. She was a hard worker. She was a nice young lady who walked her dog all the time. And she was murdered. Murdered because somebody decided to do one of the dumbest things you can do in society. One of the dumbest things you can do in society. And I don't care what a nice person Henry Ruggs was before this happened, and I don't care how nice and smart he is now. He killed an innocent woman because of his stupidity. That's what happened here. You might be saying to yourself, Brian, what do you think? Minimum 10-year sentence. Minimum 10-year sentence. If you kill somebody because you're drunk, especially going over 150 miles an hour, minimum 10-year sentence. 3 years is a joke. And we are telling people in society, hey, if you make a terrible mistake and you kill somebody, and by the way, I don't like using the term mistake. It's a mistake or an accident if I lock my keys in my car. That's a mistake. It's a mistake if I trip over something. That's a mistake. Henry Ruggs didn't make just a mistake. He killed somebody because of his stupidity. You could tell me that Henry Ruggs is a Rhodes Scholar. He killed somebody. That's what he did. So no, I don't believe that 3 years is enough. And my heart goes out to the Tina Tintor family. I hope Henry Ruggs suffers behind bars for the next 3 years. I hope it's so uncomfortable for him, and I hope he suffers. And I hope he's haunted for the rest of his life for what he did. Now, there is one thing that David Chesnoff said that made me feel a little better about this whole situation. And hopefully it'll make the Tina Tintor family feel a little better. The one thing that Chesnoff said that I really liked a lot, and I hope this is true, and I have no reason to believe it's not true, is that when Henry Ruggs gets out of jail, he wants to make positive contributions to the community and maybe talking to young people and talking to them about the mistake that he made to make sure that they don't make that same mistake. I think that is phenomenal. And I did say that months back. I said, if there's one thing I want from Henry Ruggs, it's that whenever he gets out of jail, he helps other people and preach to people and make sure that they don't make the same mistake that he made. I think that's absolutely the best thing that he can do, and I was really happy to hear Chesnoff say that, and I hope he follows through on it. If he does that, then I will commend him for doing that, because that's the right thing to do. We live in a 24/7 town where alcohol is at your disposal everywhere. There's a lot of drugs around, but alcohol in this particular situation. How stupid do you have to be on a street where the speed limit is 35 miles an hour? How stupid do you have to be driving 150 miles an hour? It takes a certain type of stupid. So I don't want everyone saying how smart Henry Ruggs is. Oh, well, he made a mistake. Oh, you know what? Give the kid a break. He made a mistake. Tina Tintor 6 feet underneath the ground because of his stupidity. Let's call it for what it is. And in society, you're saying if you're going 120 miles over the speed limit and you're piss-ass drunk and you kill an innocent young woman, we can give you 3 years. That's what our justice system is saying. If you have money, we'll get you out of jail. Don't worry, young man. We'll get you out of jail before you're 30. If you have money, our justice system says you could rape hundreds of women like Bill Cosby did, but you know what? A couple of years is enough. You're good to go, Bill. If you have money, you can kill 2 people and decapitate your ex-wife. You know exactly who I'm talking about, but yet found not guilty because you might have had a racist cop and bad prosecutors. But if you hold up people to get your memorabilia back, that's what brings you to jail. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have money in this society, notice I'm not bringing race involved here. If you have money, our justice system treats you differently than if you're just an everyday schmo like me or you, whoever. And that's wrong. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't like the fact that if you have money, you can pay for distinguished attorneys, successful attorneys that will help you more than the average person who might not have the funds. That's wrong. That's not justice. I'm talking about on both ends, prosecutors and defense attorneys. That's wrong. We live in a country where you can go into a school as a nut job with an AR-15 and shoot dozens of innocent people, kill dozens of innocent people. You're not going to get the death penalty. Then why do we have the death penalty on the books to begin with? Why? Why didn't Nicholas Cruz get the death penalty? You can go into a school and kill over 20 people, life in prison, we won't give you the death penalty. Then why do we have the death penalty? Listen, if that's the way you're going to treat cases like that, then why do we even have the death penalty to begin with? Now, listen, I am for the death penalty, especially with DNA. If you're guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and by the way, I'm not talking about Henry Ruggs. I'm not saying Henry Ruggs deserved the death penalty. Yes, I think the case was too lenient on him. I think the judgment was too lenient. I think 3 years is a joke. I'm not saying Henry Ruggs deserves the death penalty. It's not what I'm saying here. Don't conflate it. What I am saying is if you murder over 20 people in a school and you're a school shooter and you don't get the death penalty, why do we have it on the books to begin with? Why? You can be a serial killer and you can kill dozens of people. You might not get the death penalty. And then if you do get the death penalty and you are convicted, it's probably not going to happen for decades, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. That's also a joke. There are things within our justice system that need to change. DUI deaths need to change. 3 years is a joke. I don't care if you have a clean rap. There are people that are allowed to drive today that have been pulled over for DUIs 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. Let's just talk about driving with a driver's license. Let's start there. I believe if you're caught drunk driving, and I'm talking about not hurting anybody, not getting into an accident. If you're pulled over and you're caught DUI, you should lose your license for a year. First time offense, lose your license for a year. The second time you murder somebody, or I should say the second time you're pulled over for a DUI, you're done. You're done. If you do it twice in society, you shouldn't be allowed to drive a car ever again. And I know there's a lot of people that are going to disagree with me on that. Driving is a privilege. It's not a right. It's a privilege. You do it once, for the next year, you're going to have to take the bus or you're going to have to take rides. You're going to have to think about the mistake you made. And then after a year, you get to drive again. And if you do it again, you're done. Why on earth would you want somebody in society driving a vehicle legally, might have you, when they've been pulled over a half a dozen times for drunk driving? Why would you want that person on the road? And if you're going to claim that, I have an alcohol problem, so what? Then get help. Don't get into a car. It's a joke. And it shouldn't happen. And I understand that Henry Ruggs had never been pulled over for DUI before. I understand that. I understand that he had a clean record before. I understand that. But he killed somebody. Tina Tintor will never be able to have children. She'll never be able to be a mom. Her parents will never be able to be grandchildren. And trust me, I know what it's like to lose a loved one, even though there were different circumstances. I just lost my sister 7-8 months ago. The pain never goes away. I think about her every single day. The pain never goes away. So I hope and I pray that the Tina Tintor family got a little bit of closure today. I can't imagine they're happy with the sentence, but they got a little bit of closure. And I hope that Henry Ruggs is being sincere when he says he wants to make positive contributions to the community when he gets out. I hope he's being sincere when he says that. I really do. So Ruggs is now 24 years old. I believe he'll only be behind bars for 3 years. Let's just assume he gets out at the age of 28. Maybe not in his prime, but there's plenty of those in their late 20s that are in the NFL. And I know that's not what he's thinking right now, and I understand his attorney didn't want to talk about that, and I respect that, and I understand that. But you cannot convince me that when Ruggs is behind bars, he won't be thinking about one day being in the NFL again. Do I think he deserves to be an NFL player again? No, I don't. No, I don't. I do not. Do I think he'll play in the NFL again? Possibility. I'm not going to say no. There's a possibility. Do I think the odds are on his side? No, probably not. First of all, you're going to have to remain in tip-top shape. You could work out, and, that's number one. And number two, when you get out, is a team really going to take a chance on him? And it's probably going to be bad press for them. So I tend to believe that Ruggs will probably never be an NFL football player again. And I don't feel sorry for him one bit, because quite frankly, he doesn't deserve to be out there, in my personal opinion. It's one thing if you're charged with a DUI. It's another thing if you kill somebody. He killed an innocent young woman. Don't feel sorry for him at all. So we'll see. I appreciate David Chesnoff for coming on and answering some questions. The case is now officially over. And Henry Ruggs is going to be going to jail. I don't know when he has to report. I don't know if it was immediately. Maybe it was. I don't know. I'll get that information. But I appreciate David Chesnoff, Henry Ruggs' personal attorney, taking the time to join me on the show. I also appreciate Sister Aura joining us. That was quite the treat having her in and talking about some very serious issues. And I thought Sister Aura gave me some very eloquent answers. And hopefully people will stop the hate, man. Whether it be transgenders, whether it be drag queens, whatever the case may be. If you're just sexuality is different, stop the hate, man. Just let people live their lives. Why is that so hard for people to do? I don't know. Tomorrow on the show, I've been wanting to interview this guy for a very, very long time. I'm finally getting that opportunity. He's a former congressman, and he ran for mayor out there in Manhattan. Anthony Weiner is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. So that's going to be very interesting, to say the least. Anthony Weiner joining us in hour number one tomorrow. Hour number two, we got Blake Wynn from Keller Williams that's going to be joining us on the show. That's going to be fun as well. I want to give you guys all my social medias in case. If you're watching live on YouTube right now, you can see the social medias here. This wonderful billboard that was made for me. PTL Radio Show on YouTube, PTL Radio Show on Twitter, PTL Vegas on TikTok. Apparently, if you speak out against transgenders competing against women in professional sports, TikTok will suspend you for a week. So, yeah, that's what they did to me on TikTok. it happens from time to time. Apparently, that's hate speech. When you're logical and you say transgender women should not be competing against other women in sports, apparently I'm promoting hate speech, which, by the way, what I'm doing is the opposite. I want everyone to be treated fairly. I just don't think that's fair. I don't think that's hate speech. By the way, isn't that the last thing I do on this show is promote hate speech? I speak out against it every day. But anyway, who knows? The people over there that are running TikTok, who knows? God forbid I say anything about their president over there in China. I'm probably banned for life, I would imagine. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate it. And tomorrow, same time, same place, Anthony Weiner is going to be joining us. Blake Gwynn will be joining us. Hope everybody has a great afternoon. Take it easy, everybody.